Every successful person got there by going through tough times. Success is a hard-ass teacher who likes to knock you around along that journey. You know, it takes real guts to not give up and keep going. We'll hear stories about failures and how these leaders flip the script to create success. I'm John Schultz. Join me and let's discover how success is never really overnight. Okay, ready? One. How do they do it when you're on your cut?
Go.
Just go.
No, we just do it.
All right, so here I go. So welcome everyone to the John Schultz podcast. I'm so happy to be here today with Esther Choi. What an amazing guest she's going to be. What an amazing track record at such a young age. Very cool, very excited. And I'm going to start off by just going through Esther's life a little bit because it's so interesting. So you get a little background on who you're going to hear from today. So to start out, Esther went to a pharmacy college, but quit because you hated it. At least that's what I read. So right away at such an early age, you knew what you didn't want, which most people spend their whole lives trying to figure out. You sold candy to her friends when you were 8 and 9 years old. I guess you bought candy from Costco. That entrepreneurial spirit right away coming out. That's terrific. You started in restaurants at age 14. You worked at the Food Network as a purchaser for celebrity chefs. So obviously, as time went on, you started figuring out what you wanted to be. You are TV appearances on and a contestant on season 2 of Bobby Flay, a guest on The Chew, The Today, judge on Chopped, and Worst Cooks in America. So obviously that sounds like a lot of fun. You're currently working on a national expansion through Cook Unit, right? Which is the Ghost Kitchens. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Cook
Right?
Unity, yes.
Cook Unity, which is an amazing concept. Obviously through COVID, I'm sure that exploded, and we'll hear a little bit about that. You also recently launched Ceci Premium CBD Sesame Oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting into
Yes.
the CBD world, which obviously has so many unbelievable uses for our health, right, and wellness, which I know you're into.
Mm-hmm.
You are host of Get Down with K-Town, a podcast about Korean American culture. That's cool. Love podcasts. As you know, we're on one right now. And you were named Zagat 30 Under 30 by New York City Culinary Rockstar magazine, I guess, which is awesome. You were New Rising Chef by Food Republic in 2015. It just keeps going and going, which is great. And now you're chef owner of Mock Bar Mrs. U, which you launched at 28. And to me, just looking through all the things that you went through, you stuck to your knitting and you kept going. And obviously now you have all these amazing things that we can experience as a consumer, right? Being in the restaurant industry. So there you go. Right. And thank you so much for being here. So let's get going. I want to start on some cool questions. And the first question, what I'm so amazed by is sort of the demeanor of how we are when we grow up as kids, right? Like, what do we do? Mm-hmm. We're so happy and excited and everything that we're trying that's new. And, I think that's when the entrepreneurial spirit is born. And when you were young, this Costco selling, candy to friends, like, how did that even come about? Like, what made you do that?
Oh my gosh. That's really funny. I love that you say Costco. It was actually like my dad would just bring home like bulk items.
Okay.
And he probably bought it at Costco. I don't know. And he obviously bought it for the family, but I would take those and I would sell it to my friends on the school bus, at school, etc. And it made me a quick buck. And I was like, oh, this is really fun and exciting. And, you quickly become kind of like the hot commodity at school. She's selling candy, go get it from her. As a kid, that's exciting. For me, it was exciting because I was like, oh, this is like how you make money. It's easy. And then at the age of like 12 or something, I started to apply for jobs. I just wanted to work. Like, I remember going to the mall and posing as a 15-year-old to try to get a job because I wanted to work. I wanted to make money.
That's so cool. And you read the book early on, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I guess, when you were around that age. And like, yeah. Where did that take you? Like, where did that take your mindset? Because you already had this entrepreneurial spirit, right? And then obviously you read a book. Where did that take you after that?
So that book I picked up, my dad used to get all these like free books from his job. So like he would bring home like boxes and boxes of like random books. So I used to read a lot. As a kid, I remember like Goosebumps was like my favorite, but I did pick up the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think I was like, I was around like 15 or 16 and I picked it up and I started reading it, and it kind of like changed my entire view of just education in general. So I was like, okay, well, definitely got to go to college because first of all, my parents would freak out if I didn't go to college. And as a young kid, like still a student, you know that you still have to like do certain things. So even though I wasn't your like traditional student, I would go to work every day after school. I worked, 5, 6 days a week at a restaurant, but I still always was in honors. I got straight A's. My GPA was like 3.8. I still did all of my activities I needed to. I just thought it was important to excel in everything. So, but I did think that, okay, well, I don't think that I really want to go the traditional route. I know that I want to have my own business one day. And the Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of instilled that in me.
That's great.
Yeah.
In what way? Like, is it just that you felt you had the ambition, or the entrepreneurial spirit kept kicking in, or like what made you feel you couldn't just go to work for someone? Was it some lesson you learned, or something that, you were
Yeah, I
taught?
mean, in his book, he talks about like the rat race and how if you work for someone, it's going to just always be that way forever. And also like my parents were small business owners. So, they owned a string of dry cleaners. And also like I worked for, a restaurant that was owned by Koreans, like small business as well. And it just always made me feel like I definitely wanted to do my own thing. It's like, I don't know if it was like an aha moment. I just loved the idea of having my own.
Good. It's like, it's a good character. Listen, I guess you're living your character trait. So you worked as a younger person in a restaurant. What did you learn through that experience that you think help you today? What mentor, did you have mentors? Like what got you, I guess to the next level from learning in that stage of your life?
I think when you're learning and working at a very, very small age, it builds sort of this discipline. You build like discipline on, schedule, going to work, listening, doing the job, and doing it the best possible way. And for me, I always wanted to do a good job, right? And that's like just in me because I wanted to be the best at everything, and it's just that competitive spirit that I always had. And you kind of have to have that. For me, it was like, okay, who can take the most tables and make the most tips and get the highest percentage of tips, like things like that really matter to me. And also it kind of gave me an insight into, what the restaurant business was like. And I loved it. I loved every part of it. I loved the food, which was very important to me. I loved what I learned in terms of the food that I was serving, like sushi. I was exposed to like Japanese cuisine for the first time in my life. And growing up in a really small town, because I grew up in, really South, Dirty Jersey, Atlantic City, and there was no real like Asian cuisine. So for me to be exposed to that was a really big deal. And I just loved like every aspect about that fast pace, fast money, that type of business. And I would earn a lot of money, John. Like as a kid at 16, I would be taking home like $120 a night some days. And back then, this was like the 90s. It was a lot of money. It's a good amount of money for a student.
It's so interesting. It's like, so that was your passion, right? Like a lot of people play sports when they're younger or find something sort of outside, I guess, the work world to focus on and be a part of. And what I love about what you're saying is that everything interests you, everything that, like the competitive part of it, right? So it's sort of like you found your passion early, and it was not work. It was more like a learning experience of an inquiry into what is going to make you as a person today, which is incredible. obviously work ethic. So how did work ethic come into play? Obviously we want to work-life balance. We talk about that. I'm not so exactly sure what that means, except, I know there's a time and a place for everything, but how did you get through that when you were younger, as far as doing other things, or you just threw your whole self into this?
I think that for me, finding life in work is very important, right? So work shouldn't feel like work to me, at least. Like I have to enjoy what I do. Like I said, I am very disciplined and I have work ethic, but if I don't like something, I ain't doing it. Like that's for sure. Like when I was in pharmacy school, which I did for like a quick 2 years because of my parents, I knew from like the first year, I knew like, okay, I don't like this. I'm not doing it. So I already like after the first year, I had already had a plan of like leaving pharmacy school. So it's sort of like you have to do what you really love to be successful at it. And for me, it was very much so that. So like when I would go to work, it wouldn't feel like work. I really liked it. I really liked interacting with my customers, with obviously the other staff, and I became like best friends with the chef. He used to teach me how to cook like these extraordinary dishes. And for me, it's like finding that experience in everything that I do and that I enjoy. That's what mattered to me. So it didn't really feel like work, but I'm not gonna lie, there were days that I would come home, at midnight beat, and I would have to get up at 6 a.m. to go to school. And it would just be, I would be exhausted. And I'm not gonna lie, it took a lot out of me, but I still was very, very stubborn about my work. And my parents only let me work if I did well in school. So like if my grades started to fall, they would be like, nope, no more. So I had to maintain both of that.
I say this over and over. I feel if you find and know your character traits, right? Because we all have them. We all have 24 of them. We all have them in different order based on what our makeup is. Once you find them, I think you can get to that feeling where it isn't always, listen, work is work. I mean, there's good and bad in it. I mean, but what I love about what you're saying, you always found the fun part of why you were doing it. You keep mentioning, he taught me this, she taught me that, I was involved with the chef. Like, I think when you go to work and you got to look for the good, not just the mundane tasks that we all have to do. Right. And that's why if you find something that matches up with you personally, with your character traits, you'll last long enough for you to keep moving on and keep getting to actually do more of what you really like to do as you get, longer in your career and more chances and more opportunities. So I love that. And but you almost like did it like in an unbelievable way. Like you worked 2 shifts. Like first of all, most people don't do that. What made you do that? Was it just this unbelievable learning experience, or was it money, or like what made you actually go to that extent?
Let's be real, John, money has a lot to do with it.
I love it.
Okay, so another thing about, making money that's so great is that for me, you could spend it, right? And at a young age, at like, 16, 17, I'm making like, some weeks, $800 a week in cash. This was for me, like I dressed the best in school. I bought whatever I wanted to. I treated all of my friends. I always picked up the bill. And that's my thing because it makes me so happy to do that. But also it might be an ego thing. It doesn't matter. It makes me feel good. So I do it. Right. And also I, would give my parents some allowance, at a young age. To be able to do that was a big deal for me. And I was really proud of that. And I would even give my sister in college allowance because she didn't work. She just went to her classes and she was a college student. But, I'm in high school. I would be making a lot of money. So I'll give my sister some allowance too. So for me, it was the act of like making money and then being able to spend it in the way that I wanted to, because I had then full control. And, as an entrepreneur, I think this, but like, it's the classic most manipulative skill that you can have, but it's like controlling and being able to like give people what they want.
Okay.
And for me, I started learning that at a very early age.
Well, that's good. So obviously it's not just a linear road, right? I mean, this whole podcast is on the myth to overnight success. And you just started at such a young age, which, people need to realize that it doesn't happen quickly. I mean, you in theory started your brain working, being an entrepreneur when you're 9, 10 years old, right? You would have literally given up college and just went right to work if you could, right? I mean, yeah, but your parents instilled certain values that they want, which is fine. I think that was, probably worked out for you, right? Without even realizing it at the time. But what do you feel kept you going through the worst times before we get to the pinnacle of where you are now? Because it's unbelievable what you're doing now. What got you through when it didn't feel so good? When, you were working the two shifts, because I think people, they look at you and they're going to look at you and they look at everyone that we have in the show like, oh my God, like how do I get there? How does this happen? And, war stories of where it doesn't go right is where I think people can really resonate with, because we're feeling them every day.
Right. I love that you say that, because seriously, people always like to see the best part of the glamorous part of being an entrepreneur, or especially being a chef, which is a very, very difficult profession. I remember still the hardest moment of my career is when I first opened my first business, when I actually became an entrepreneur. So when I first opened Mock Bar in Chelsea Market, that was my first location when I was 28 years old. And I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember beyond all that, beyond not knowing what you're doing, and it was very successful. So, I got really lucky, but also I worked really hard. But working hard and being lucky and being successful, that's only like some of the things that people hear about. The awful part is that when you actually become an entrepreneur, your brain has to change. I think for me, that was really difficult because I didn't expect it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I didn't expect it to be so hard mentally. And like physically, I was working already like 100-hour weeks. I worked more, I think, before I was an entrepreneur, like in terms of like working hard and grinding and paying my dues. But I think like mentally, what it does to you is like, you have to like really kind of like shift your personality, your brain, the way of life. And another tough part is everyone around me kept saying like, oh, you changed, you're different, you're not the same person that you used to be. And I used to get that a lot in the beginning.
In what respect?
It's because
In what respect? Like, what do you mean by that?
I think because I was trying to figure out who I was within that world. It changed my personality a little, meaning like I was under a lot of stress. I didn't know exactly who I was, and I kind of became like hidden, like a little bit more introverted. Because I used to, I'm very introverted. I don't know. It's like I was in my own thoughts a lot, and it seemed like I was in a dark place, but it was just like I just needed to figure out who I was. I needed time, and especially living with like my sister, she would be like, she would feel that a lot and tell me, what's wrong, why are you changing so much, why are you so different, things like that. But I think it's just something that you have to go through as an entrepreneur, and having to realize like what you are doing and who you are becoming. And it did really change me. I'm a completely different person. I always joke around, oh, pre-business and post-business Esther, like it's two different people, completely two different people.
You had no money. You had to win this competition Chelsea Market's one of the coolest places for the coolest new concepts, right? I mean, unbelievable traffic. You had to win. You had to put a business plan together. You had no money. And I love it. Like your work ethic training was there, but you saw it was a whole nother thing that you were unsure about. So how did you believe in yourself enough, not having anything and all this uncertainty, to actually pull it off? Like, what was the trials and tribulations of that journey?
I think that sometimes you feel like you have no choice but to succeed. And that was my mentality. There was no other way. I just had to do it. You do it in a way where there is no other option. Right. And for me, that was the case. And you know, fear of failure, like that didn't even exist to me because I was so busy just focusing on being like getting my goals done. Like, let's say I have a, long-term goal, great. But you have to have short-term goals and be able to achieve every single one of that to get to the long-term goals. And it has to be very realistic too. And that's one thing about me. I am a very realistic person. Like, yes, people think that some of the goals that I have seem unrealistic, but to me, they're like pretty realistic. And I know my situation very, very well. And I've been through so many obstacles, getting through things and making it work. And that's the beauty of hospitality too. There are ways that you can make it work, and I feel like hospitality is a little flexible in that way, where if you're smart enough, quick enough, you can do it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
So you opened up in 2014 was the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 17 was Brooklyn, right? 2017.
Yes. Brooklyn
And
location, which so hard.
Yeah. Listen.
Yeah, and then that's yeah.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that same year I opened Miss You, the cocktail bar. The same year I opened Brooklyn, which was like insane. It was just crazy. And sometimes I think entrepreneurs do really crazy things because, yeah, like I say I'm realistic, but to a lot of people, I'm a very unrealistic person too. I make some crazy goals and I'm just like, I'm gonna do all of these things. I still kind of do that, I guess. But it takes a little bit of crazy to be an entrepreneur. Come on, John,
I think without even a doubt, if you look at the greatest things that ever happened, innovative wise in our society, it was someone believing in something that, I mean, Elon Musk is the one today, right? I mean, no one thought he could deliver the electric vehicle market on his own, and he survived. And at one point you never thought he was going to, and here he is today. So yes, I think crazy is sometimes the only way you can change anything, because it's crazy until it's not, right?
Right. Crazy works sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It does. So, all right. So here you go. You were crazy, right? You thought you could do it and you did it, right? And you had no real reason why you thought you could, except the belief in yourself, which the one thing I've gotten to know about you, you believe in yourself and you have such great humility. And I know obviously that means a lot to you, right? I know you're very, your family and what you were taught is humility is what makes the world go round. So how does that affect someone which is so driven? How do you combine humility and drive together as a magic potion for success?
I think you said it right before, John. There's a time and place for everything. And that goes with, having drive and being super confident, but also humility, making sure that you're not going too far and knowing your place in a sense where there's still so much to learn and you're not the best at everything, and it's so hard. Even now, it's so hard to balance the two, because sometimes the humility gets to you and I just don't feel like confident, but then you have to be super confident to to portray a certain image, and especially doing a lot of TV, judging, you have to have a certain stance. So balancing the two is very difficult, especially I'm a leader of a company with over 100 employees. You have to have a certain type of image, confidence, because I'm leading these guys, and if I have to believe in it so that everyone else believes in it. Yeah. So, but also I do feel like it's important to keep an open mind. And I know you said this before, but like experiencing is the most important thing for me, like being experimental, trying different things, and especially trying something new. Like that to me is the ultimate thing to being successful, because yes, you try 10 things, one will always work. Like that's what I always believe in. And if you don't have an open mind to trying new things, then how do you know, and how do you grow from there? You just stay stagnant.
Well, and like, you don't look at it as failure. I mean,
Mhm.
you either an open mindset or a fixed mindset, right? The open
Mhm.
mindset looks at something that didn't go right. Maybe it's another way to pivot, look at something a different way, try something new. And, talking about what we all just went through with COVID, right? And,
Mhm.
so let's talk a little bit about that. Cause like here you are, as much as in your own mind, you had to deal with what failure meant and uncertainty meant and having this unbelievable belief system for yourself to be the entrepreneur that you are today. And it was years in the making. There's always these unforeseen circumstances like COVID. So here you are
Mhm.
opening restaurants and then finally getting them going. And then the worst disaster, occurs. So how did you get through that? And maybe bring in this Cook Unity, which is a
Mhm.
fantastic concept that's can scale in a different way. So and why were you even in that, knowing that you were doing the other thing? So how did you? Because it's like a
Mhm.
diversification thing. So when COVID hit, game on. What happened?
It was crazy. Yeah, it was I mean, on it, like, so we were supposed to have our most successful year yet, for our company. I had a whole plan, even for my my personal growth, as um, like a TV chef, or things like that with my production company. It was supposed to be our best year yet, and then COVID hit. And when it happened, I was extremely calm. Um, for some reason, I just felt peace. It was okay, like but I think it's because everyone else was freaking out so much that like, I can't be a leader and then freak out with them. It just doesn't. You can't do that. So I was extremely calm, and I was like, we're gonna have a plan. We have a plan. We're gonna make plans, and we'll take it week by week. And that's what we did. And it was incredible, John. COVID changed my life. It changed my company's life. We are more successful now than we were before COVID. And that's because of that entrepreneurial spirit, like we were talking about, and it being experimental. Every opportunity that I had to try something new, to bring in a new revenue stream in this different world we were living in, that's what it came to. And it was really fun for me, actually, like learning about all these different ways to bring in revenue and through hospitality was so interesting to me. That everyone was doing something different, whether it be like, oh, meal kits, or personal home deliveries, or even like delivering pantry items, or even creating like CPG products, like a lot of different things that you can do. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You create your own destiny. So that's what I was doing. I partnered up with some incredible companies, a lot of them. Probably I tried like maybe 10 different things. We were always changing gears and bringing in different revenues from um, different different areas of the
Yeah.
business. And from there, not everything worked, obviously. Like, that's crazy. You can't make everything work, and
Yeah.
everything is not going to work. That's the thing. And I knew that. I was like, it doesn't matter, because out of these 10 things, one will work. And it did. Cook Unity brought in so much
Why don't
revenue
you
from
tell
day
everybody
one.
about Cook Unity? Because I think it's an
Uh-huh.
amazing thing. Give them a little
Right.
background on what Cook Unity is.
So Cook Unity is a meal prep service. As a consumer, what you do is it's a subscription service where you go on the platform and you can get up to like 5 to 7 meals, or maybe 10 to 15, however many meals you want a week. And you choose what meals you want from the best chefs in your area. So, it's all started from Cook Unity partnering with John George, which they were very smart to partner up with such a, high-end chef that has such a high profile. They utilize that to bring on more celebrity chefs. So they brought on me. They brought on like JJ Johnson. They brought on like Enad and Moni. They brought on Mark Forgione, all of these like amazing chefs in New York. And obviously they partnered with these chefs, saying like, okay, listen, you can use your empty dining room to make your meals in the restaurant, and we'll guarantee, sell over 500 meals, and we'll give you $1. We'll give you like $3 per meal. Like if there was a number, it
Now,
depends on what tier
was this
chef you are.
going on before COVID? Was this concept for them? Were they established before COVID?
So they were, but not in the sense where they were utilizing, famous chefs. They were just doing it as like a regular meal plan service, which, there's so many out there. So they were doing it in that way, but then Mateo, the founder, figured out how to, how to market it in a different way and how to partner up with chefs and restaurants that have such a high profile. And he used COVID as that kind of stepping stone. And I mean, COVID was probably the reason why he even figured out like there's this amazing idea behind this. So
was this one of the 10 things that you were trying? Like, did you seek this out, or did they seek you out? You sought this out?
So it was a combination of both. Some companies seeked me out, but then I seeked some companies out. So in this case, Cook Unity came to me. Yeah, they came to me. So immediately I was like, of course, let's do it. Let's try it out and see how it is. And from day one, after I saw what the first week was like, I dropped every other project and I zoned in on Cook Unity because I knew this was it. This was it for us.
All right. So that's the lesson I take from you, as everything I know about you is you're not afraid to try a lot of things to get to the one. And which means you have to be ready to fail at a lot of things before you get to the one. And knowing that one's coming and having the, ability to feel that it's around the corner got you to that point. And what I find interesting is that if COVID didn't happen, you never probably would have done it because you would have not been.
Why would I do it? Yeah.
Why would you do it?
Yeah.
And now, I mean, as far as what it's adding to your company, would you say it's like one of the most successful parts of what you're doing now, or no?
Oh, 1,000%, John. I mean, I'm amazed at how successful it's been. And it's not the most, see, that's the thing. It's like, I wouldn't have done it before COVID because there's no glamour in a business like that, or, as a restaurateur or, as a chef, it's not very glamorous. So when some of my chef friends ask me about the platform, it depends on what type of chef you are. If you're going for your 3 Michelin, I would be like, don't do it. It's going to ruin your image because then you're never going to get your 3 Michelin. But if you're in it to like make serious money,
right?
Hell yes. And for me,
but also, you're trying something new that absolutely you're unsure of what that even. I mean, you say Michelin, but you don't know, but you're still willing to do it.
Right. So I think that it depends on your personality as a chef, right? For me, I'm very entrepreneurial. I think I'm definitely an entrepreneur first, and then I'm a chef second. I don't know. I don't want to say that because sometimes I'm like, I'm a chef, but really I'm an entrepreneur. And for me, it's so extraordinary to be working with a company that focuses on tech. And, obviously tech is a huge part of entrepreneurial, life. Yeah. And I really wanted to combine, like, I really wanted to like get into that business. And this was kind of like my segue in. I now work with one of like the largest like food tech companies, and they're really using technology to expand their brand. They raised an insane amount of money and they're expanding really, really fast, really rapidly. And I want to be a part of that ride. And I have been, and it's been super exciting. I get to kind of dictate some of the decisions that are made in company expansion. I mean, it's a true partnership. And that's what's so beautiful about it. The CEO of Cook Unity and I are really close, talk about ideas all the time. And it's really exciting.
Great concept. I love it. I love, listen, at the end of the day, with technology, we're learning how to serve different people in different ways, right? Obviously, everyone wants to go out to a restaurant, but it's nice that you're delivering something at that quality, where you don't have to leave your house if you don't want to leave your house. How is this technology and this understanding of how to operate a business that way help your existing business with Mock Bar and Mrs. U? How has it helped you? Have you learned things that you can implement back in the brick and mortar, concept?
Definitely. I think a lot of it comes from like management of staff, because that's a huge part of hospitality. Obviously, it's a very people-driven business. So learning structure like from community and using like technology in that way and bringing it back to the restaurants have been insane. And also, revenue in general, like and on the finance end, you know, figuring out like what community is doing right and how do we bring that to the restaurants, right? Like that's been super insightful as well. So, always comparing numbers, and also, having my cook unity operation compete with my restaurant operation. They're always kind of like competing in a sense where like sales and your costs and weighing both. That has been super fun as well. So I think generally speaking, it's such a big part of my business now, Makbar, our company, that yeah, it's
Well, and also
it's half
just
and
think
half.
about think about the exposure, like
Right.
the reach
footprint.
that you get, because now you can scale up in a much faster way. So the way I look at it for you, which obviously I know you're thinking about this, is you're in other states already having people try and love your food before you even move in with a brick and mortar
Right.
concept. It's sort of like all the internet companies, right? Like Warby Parker, and they started out as a digital native, and now they're all putting stores in, because that halo effect that you get with retail, brick and mortar, and with internet orders. So
And John,
you're
I
sort
love
of
that you
doing
say
that.
that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because it is true. After we open in all the cities, right now we've expanded in 4 cities. But you can compare the sales. Like there's some cities that are like that. There's no doubt it's like a success. Like we're so busy there. The growth is insane. And some cities are not. They're like a lot slower. So you kind of can gauge where you could do really, really well by opening a physical location if I were to go that route.
And think about that. Imagine, like, most people would open a brick and mortar store first, right? That's way more expensive and way more of a risk that you don't have to do to finally go out and see your customer in a different way. I think it's tremendous, because I think, both of them together create an unbelievable effect of a product and a service. And it's proving it right now with all the digital native brands having brick and mortar. I mean, look at Amazon, Whole Foods, and all the brick and mortar stores that they're going to actually do moving forward to have that combination effect as well. So that was smart. And the great thing is you did it out of just no choice. Wasn't a master plan, right? Right. It was just,
I know.
You weren't afraid to try it, which is what, I believe most of our greatest things come through an indirect way, but we're willing to at least try it and not worry about what it's going to be. And like, I love what you said, not worrying about the end result, right? Because we don't know the end result. We're always wrong when we probably look back.
Always.
Right, exactly. So listen, I just want to say, like I said, I wanted to be energized. This has been very energizing. You're amazing. I just wish you all the best. I know everyone that's going to listen to this, Makbar, and I know we're opening a new one in the Gateway Center in Newark. So we're very excited about that. We can't wait for that. We're excited to you're going to have, you're coming to that community, New Jersey. We love New Jersey. But Mrs. You, right? Makbar, Cook Unity. I don't know, where else would people find you? You do so many things on Instagram.
Instagram.
Okay. Esther Choi. I'm sure you have beautiful food presentations on your Instagram.
Yes. My handle is Choi Bites. You can find me I'm on Instagram a lot. But yeah, my restaurants, Cook Unity, especially, it's nationwide. So definitely you can get access to my meals. And Gateway Center is special to me, John, because I'm going back to my roots. I'm a Jersey girl. Remember, never forget where you come from.
What I'm so listen, you believing in it is just, tremendous feeling for us, because you can go anywhere. And I love that you want to and respect your roots. That's how I was brought up myself. Like, never forget who helped you, where you came from, humility, you know, anything can change at a moment's notice, which we obviously felt through COVID, right? Like you think you have everything going on until boom, something changes. So
Exactly.
thank you so much. We know your time's valuable, so we're going to let you go, even though we could speak to another hour at least. And enjoy the day, and thank you.
John, thank you so much for having me. This was an amazing conversation. Now I feel like energized too. Like I'm going to go like do something crazy.
There you go. Crazy. We love crazy. Thank you.
Thank you.